Headed into last summer, Markelle Fultz was the consensus #1 pick in a loaded draft class. After torching competition at Washington, Fultz was seen by many as a surefire NBA All-Star and was even compared to superstar James Harden. But then, weird things began to happen. Instead of taking the man everyone thought was the clear best player in the draft, the Celtics traded down, and suddenly, injury concerns about Markelle Fultz's shoulder began to pop up. Those injury concerns seem laughable to us now, because at this point, they're like atomic bomb concerns? Is that a good way to put it? I don't really know what's worse than a concern. Anyway, you get it. That's where we're at now. This is way worse than a concern. So what's up, guys? Mike here, and today we're going to look at what in the world is happening with Markelle Fultz. Because seriously, this is one of the weirdest NBA stories I have ever heard, and obviously it's still not over. When have we seen something like the #1 pick in the draft suddenly lose the ability to shoot because of some weird, basically seemingly made up injury? Doesn't happen often. So today we're going to look at this story. We're going to look for some answers. So let's just start off with the Philadelphia 76ers should be the NBA's next potential dynasty. As long as Joel Embiid stays healthy, he's got a chance to become the best big man in the NBA and could go as far as being the best player in the NBA. As for Ben Simmons, his jump shot is clearly not there yet, but he's already a walking triple-double who is putting up one of the most impressive rookie seasons we have seen in recent memory. So just right there, the Sixers have a foundation for tremendous future success. But just looking around the league right now, it's clear that 2 stars are probably not enough, which is why getting the #1 pick in this year's draft was so huge for Philadelphia. In taking Markelle Fultz, it looked like the Sixers had the perfect fit for the modern NBA and for their roster. In college, Fultz was a beast out of the pick and roll. He was a knockdown 3-point shooter. He was athletic. He could score from just about anywhere on the court. He showed flashes of awesome court vision. He was what seemed like a can't-miss prospect. That is why he was the consensus #1 pick in one of the most loaded draft classes in recent memory, and that is why Sixers fans thought their team was set for the next 10+ years at least. Then we fast forward to the beginning of the NBA preseason, and we begin to hear quotes like this. One Eastern Conference general manager said, "This is not normal. It's perplexing." An Eastern Conference scout said, "He shot it pretty well in college. He never looked like this before." These men were, of course, talking about the changes in Markelle Fultz's shooting mechanics, also known as possibly the weirdest thing a player has done in the summer before his rookie year in the history of the NBA. Now, injuries to top prospects are nothing new. We know about guys like Greg Oden. And in Philadelphia, of course, injuries to their top rookies are nothing new. Just look at Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Both of them missed what should have been their entire rookie year with injuries. So Markelle Fultz missing a bunch of time here is not that strange. What is strange is at this time, we still haven't come to a 100% public agreement as to why Markelle is not playing. What's even stranger is that it seems like the 76ers might not fully know either. So let's just go through the Markelle Fultz timeline right now to see how we've gotten to this point. Because as we know, in high school and college, Markelle shot fine. At Washington, he even shot 5 threes per game and made 41% of his shots from deep. And moving forward, during the summer league, his shot also looked perfectly fine. It wasn't until months later, when he rejoined the 76ers for training camp, that serious red flags began to show themselves. Those close to the team noticed that Fultz had obviously lowered his shot release point, and his once smooth jumper had now become incredibly ugly and ineffective. This, of course, began to raise questions from the fans and the media during the months of September and October, but the Sixers did their best to keep things vague and said Markelle was suffering from soreness in his shoulder. So at this point, people knew that something strange was going on, but it wasn't until October 23rd that this story really began to get out of hand. Because it was on this day that Raymond Brothers, Fultz's agent, told ESPN that Markelle, quote, had a shoulder injury and fluid drained out of the back of his shoulder. He literally cannot raise up his arms to shoot the basketball. He decided to try and fight through the pain to help the team. That quote briefly and understandably exploded the basketball world. How could it not? People had just found out that the #1 pick in the draft could not raise his arms up enough to shoot a basketball, but was still out on the court playing? So, of course, we got a backtrack statement from Brothers, who said his first quote was wrong and that Markelle, quote, had a cortisone shot on October 5th, which means fluid was put into his shoulder, not taken out. Now, sometimes people are misquoted. Sometimes people are even wrong with the information they are giving the media. But this is Markelle Fultz's agent. I'm pretty sure if anyone is in the know of what's happening with Markelle, it's him. I'm also pretty sure that if he was to get some information wrong, it wouldn't be this extreme. I mean, got fluid drained out of his shoulder and literally cannot raise his arms up to shoot a basketball? You don't just mistakenly say that. Something was very suspicious here, and things began to get even weirder because around this time, general manager Brian Colangelo held a press conference to talk about what was happening with Markelle. During this press conference, he again said that Fultz was suffering from right shoulder soreness and then implied that Markelle's decision to change his shot form was actually the reason for the injuries that he was suffering. And while head coach Brett Brown did not go as far as to say that, he did make it clear that he thought Fultz changed his jump shot over the summer in an effort to improve, which is ridiculous in itself. Why is the #1 pick in the NBA draft changing his jump shot during the summer? This isn't a Lonzo Ball situation where people are criticizing his form and saying it's not going to work in the NBA. Everyone was completely fine with Markelle Fultz's form. In fact, it looked pretty smooth. So already you could see that this situation was preparing itself to become a disaster. And to me, it was made all the more strange when Markelle Fultz's trainer, when asked if a decision was made to change his jump shot that summer, told reporters, "Oh my god, that's false, that's not true." Yeah, I'm not really sure how he could possibly say that when the proof is right there in front of us. Here's a video of Markelle taking a shot in high school. Now, here's a video of him taking one in the NBA Summer League, when things were still fine. Finally, here's the free throw that briefly broke the internet. A shot with a new hitch that was clearly different from the one we had just seen at Washington, and, more importantly, a shot that just looked ugly. For more proof of the potential disaster here, just watch as Markelle takes a jumper against the Pistons and kind of double pumps a wide open jumper. So again, obviously something is wrong, obviously something has changed, and Markelle himself has admitted this. When asked if he had changed his free throw form due to pain, Markelle said, "Yeah, for the most part, I'm just trying other things to make free throws." Other things? What does that even mean? It's statements like this that explain why nobody seems to know what is going on here. For months, the Sixers had no idea what was wrong with Markelle's shoulder, and finally, when they sent him to a specialist, the diagnosis was even weirder than we could have imagined. In November, surgeon Ben Kibler described Markelle Fultz's injury as a scapular muscular imbalance. What that injury was, pretty much no one knew. Basically, a scapular muscular imbalance occurs when a person's two shoulder blades become different from each other. For example, they don't line up in the same way, or to put it in other words, Markelle Fultz's shoulders were asymmetrical. This type of injury occurs due to an abnormal movement pattern of the overused side, which is why it's an injury that's more common in baseball pitchers and tennis players who use just one arm a majority of the time, thus causing the imbalance in their shoulders. It's not an injury that is common in basketball players at all. Athletes who use both arms all of the time, and to me, that's what makes this injury so strange. Because what is the cause of this imbalance in Markelle Fultz's shoulder? shoulders. Did he try to change his shot over the summer to improve it, and that caused the imbalance and his injuries? Or was his body just predisposed to having an injury like this, and Markelle changed his shot form because he started to suffer pain? Or, getting even stranger here, maybe something else is happening or happened. We all know the theory that this is all in Markelle Fultz's head. This theory was given a lot more credibility when Brett Brown apparently said that Fultz had psychosomatic effects with his shooting. Psychosomatic effects with his shooting basically translates to, at this point, the injury is in Markelle's head. The only problem with this theory is that while Mark Jones claims that Brett Brown did say this, Brett Brown himself has denied this completely. Still though, this statement of course gave us even more drama, as upon hearing what Brett Brown allegedly said, Markelle Fultz tweeted out, "You really can't trust no one." And again, while Brett Brown did deny saying this, the conspiracy part of me still thinks that there is a possibility that he did actually say it. I mean, apparently this happened during an ESPN production meeting, meaning that it wasn't a quote to a reporter. Brett Brown would have thought his comments would stay private. Then when the trust was broken there and his comments were said to the entire world, what else is the head coach supposed to say when his #1 overall pick is tweeting out that he can't trust him? Of course Brett Brown is going to say that he did not say that. So sure, there's no proof that Brett Brown said anything, but it is a little suspicious, right? And to wrap up all of this weirdness, let's just jump to the most recent developments we've had in this strange story that is Markelle Fultz. Since early December, 76ers executives have said that Markelle no longer has soreness in his right shoulder, and some have even gone as far as to say that his muscular imbalance has been cured, which is weird because now it's February and we still have not seen Markelle Fultz. I mean, sure, we've seen clips of him practicing, but even these clips of him shooting around add to the weirdness. Because right now, as you can see, it appears that Markelle can somewhat do a turnaround jump shot, but when it comes to free throws and his normal shooting form, something is still obviously up. All in all, just looking at recent clips, it still seems that even if Markelle's shot is progressing somewhat, to me, it just doesn't look like he's comfortable shooting a basketball. Whatever the case, we don't know the answer to what exactly is happening with Markelle because the Sixers have been extremely vague as to what is happening. And maybe that's not their fault. Maybe they themselves are not sure what's happening. So hopefully in the future we learn exactly what went down here. But for now, I just have to say this is one of the weirdest and strangest stories I have ever come across in the NBA. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to this channel and you love basketball, make sure to subscribe. We post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here around 6 p.m. Eastern. So again, if you love basketball, if you love the NBA, subscribe so you do not miss a video. And to everyone already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We know it. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music.